I didn't plan to fall in love with a billionaire. I planned to survive 3 months. 3 months of pretending. Of smiling for cameras. Of playing the role of the perfect girlfriend for a man who owned boardrooms, headlines, and half the city skyline. It was supposed to be simple. Fake affection, real money, clean ending. No feelings. No complications. Then he learned how I take my coffee. Then he started looking at me like I wasn't part of the contract. Then pretending stopped feeling like pretending at all. I agreed to a fake relationship with a billionaire. And somehow, it became the most real thing in my life. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories. I agreed to the fake relationship on a Tuesday afternoon, over lemon cake that cost more than my monthly groceries. Ethan Vale smiled across the cafe table like he was used to people saying yes to him. His suit was perfectly ordinary for someone who owned half the city, which somehow made him more intimidating. No gold watches, no flashy rings. Just calm confidence and eyes that paid attention. "I need a girlfriend," he said politely. "For 3 months." I blinked. "You said this was about a job." "It is," he replied. "You will be compensated." That part one understood. Rent was due. My freelance work had slowed. And I had already spilled coffee on his assistant earlier that day, which felt like fate nudging me forward rather than away. "What kind of girlfriend?" I asked. "The convincing kind," he said. "Public events. Dinners. Occasional interviews. No lying beyond the premise. No secrets between us. No feelings." I added, trying to sound professional. He hesitated just long enough for me to notice. "Preferably not." We shook hands. His palm was warm. Mine was slightly sticky from the cake. That was how I became Ethan Vale's girlfriend. On paper. The first week was easy. He sent a schedule. I showed up in borrowed dresses. We smiled for cameras. He always offered his arm, always asked if I was comfortable, always listened when I talked about things that had nothing to do with his world. He laughed at my jokes, even the bad ones. Especially the bad ones. At home, I practiced saying his name in the mirror, trying to make it sound natural. Ethan. Soft. Familiar. Mine. By week 2, the act felt less like acting. He learned how I took my coffee. I learned he hummed quietly when he read. He never checked his phone when I spoke. When I teased him about being impossibly perfect, he smiled and said, "Careful. You will ruin my reputation." One evening, after a charity dinner filled with soft music and polite applause, we sat in the back of his car. The city lights drifted past the windows like something borrowed from a dream. "You did well tonight," he said. "So did you," I replied. "Very convincing billionaire boyfriend." He chuckled. "You make it easy." The car stopped at my apartment. I reached for the door, then hesitated. "Ethan." "Yes. This is still fake." "Right." His answer came a beat too late. "Of course." I nodded, even though my chest felt strangely tight. By the end of the second month, the line between fake and real had thinned to something fragile and bright. He cooked for me on Sundays. I fell asleep on his couch during movies. We argued gently about music and seriously about nothing at all. One rainy afternoon, we hid under one umbrella, laughing as water soaked our shoes. He brushed a strand of hair from my face without thinking. We froze. "I'm sorry," he said. "It's okay," I replied. Neither of us moved away. The kiss that followed was soft, unplanned, and very real. Afterward, we sat in silence, rain tapping the pavement around us. "This complicates things," I whispered. "Yes," he said. "But I do not regret it." Neither did I. We did not talk about the end date anymore. We did not count the days. Until the morning everything tilted. I arrived at Ethan's penthouse early, carrying pastries and a smile. His place felt familiar now, like somewhere I belonged. I let myself in, humming softly. Voices floated from his office. "I told you not to tell her yet," Ethan said, tense but controlled. A pause. Then a woman's voice I did not recognize. "She deserves to know," the woman replied. "Especially before the announcement tonight." My heart stumbled. Announcement? I stepped closer, my breath shallow. 3 months, the woman continued. "That was the agreement." Ethan exhaled slowly.
I know.
I looked down at the pastries in my hands, suddenly too heavy, and wondered what part of our story I had never been told. The office door opened. Ethan's eyes met mine, and for the first time since that Tuesday afternoon in the cafe, he looked afraid. "Can we talk?" he asked. Behind him, a screen lit up with a headline draft bearing his name. And my picture. The room felt suddenly too bright. I set the pastries down on the nearest table, my fingers trembling.
"You put me in the news?"
I asked quietly. Ethan stepped toward me at once, concern softening his features. "Not yet. Nothing has been released. I promise." The woman behind him cleared her throat.
"I'll give you two a moment." She left without another word, the door closing gently behind her.
Silence stretched between us, thick and uncertain. "What announcement?" I asked. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I had never seen before. "There is a public partnership merger tonight. The board expects stability. They believe a committed relationship reassures investors."
"And me?"
I asked. Where do I fit into that sentence? He didn't hesitate. "Everywhere." I crossed my arms, trying to protect my heart from how earnest he sounded. "Then why does it feel like I'm finding out last?" "Because I was trying to find the right way to tell you," he said softly. "And because somewhere along the way, this stopped being pretend for me." The words hung in the air, fragile and glowing. "For me too," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "That's why this hurts." He stepped closer, careful as if I might disappear. "Nothing about you is a strategy. The agreement ended the moment I realized I was falling in love with you." My breath caught. "You cannot say that like it's nothing," I said. "It is everything," he replied. I searched his face for calculation and found none. Only vulnerability. Only hope. "What happens after tonight?" I asked. "After the cameras, the applause, the headlines?" He reached for my hand but waited until I nodded before taking it. His thumb brushed my knuckles in a familiar grounding way. "After tonight," he said, "I want mornings with you that no one sees. Arguments about paint colors. Shared grocery lists. A real relationship that does not belong to the public." My chest tightened, but this time it was from warmth, not fear.
"And if I say no?"
I asked. His grip tightened slightly. "Then I will still respect you. Still care.
Still wish I had met you under simpler circumstances."
I looked at the screen again. At my picture beside his name. At the story the world was about to believe. Then I looked back at the man who had learned my coffee order, laughed at my jokes, and kissed me in the rain like it was instinct. "Okay," I said slowly. "We do tonight. Together." Relief flooded his face, followed by a smile so genuine it made my heart race.
"But," I added, "after tonight, no more pretending."
He nodded.
"Never again."
That evening, we stood hand in hand beneath crystal lights, cameras flashing like stars. His thumb traced quiet circles against my palm, a secret promise no headline could capture.
As applause filled the room, Ethan leaned close and whispered, "This is not the beginning of our lie."
I smiled up at him.
"Then what is it?"
He met my gaze, eyes full of something steady and sure. "Our turning point." And as the crowd cheered and the future opened in ways neither of us had planned, I wondered which part would be harder to face. The world discovering our story, or us discovering how real it had already become. The applause followed us long after we left the stage. Inside the elevator, the quiet wrapped around us like a held breath. The doors slid shut, and suddenly it was just Ethan and me, our reflections staring back from polished steel walls. "You were perfect," he said softly. "So were you," I replied. Then after a pause, "You always are." He smiled at that, not the polished billionaire smile, but the one meant only for me. "You make me forget I am supposed to be." The elevator stopped at the top floor. His home greeted us with warm light and stillness, a contrast to the glittering performance we had just given. Ethan loosened his tie, then hesitated, glancing at me. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I think so," I said honestly. "Just processing." He nodded and moved slowly, deliberately, as if every step mattered. "I do not want tonight to pressure you into anything." "I know," I said. "That's why I'm still here." Something softened in his expression. He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel his warmth without touching him. "May I kiss you?" he asked. The question, simple and sincere, undid me far more than confidence ever could. "Yes," I said. The kiss was unhurried, tender, nothing like the staged affection we had perfected for cameras. This one belonged to us alone. When we pulled back, my forehead rested against his, both of us smiling quietly. "We should talk about what this means," I said. "Yes," he agreed. "But not tonight. Tonight, I just want to be Ethan.
And I just want to be me," I said.
Not your girlfriend. Not your headline."
"Then stay," he said gently.
"Not because we are supposed to.
"Because you want to."
I considered the space around us. The calm. The way he waited without expectation. "I want to," I said. Later, we sat on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket, city lights stretching endlessly below. He told me about his childhood, about building something from pressure and expectation. I told him about my smaller dreams, the ones I had never said out loud. "They are not small," he said. "They are yours." When I finally fell asleep against his shoulder, I felt safe in a way I had never known. Morning came softly. Sunlight spilled across the room. I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of quiet movement. Ethan stood by the window, phone in hand, his expression thoughtful. "Good morning," I said, sitting up. He turned, smiling.
"Good morning."
Then his phone buzzed again. His smile faded slightly as he read the message. "What is it?" I asked. He hesitated, then walked over, sitting beside me. "The press wants an exclusive interview. They want to know when we plan to make things official." "Official?" I echoed. He reached for my hand. "They think last night was an announcement of something permanent." I looked at our intertwined fingers. At the morning light. At the truth we were still learning how to name. "And what do you think?" I asked. He met my eyes, serious and open. "I think I want forever." "But only if you do." My heart raced, caught between fear and hope. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed again. This time, he did not look away. He simply whispered, "Whatever you choose, changes everything." And I realized the next words out of my mouth would decide whether our story stayed a beautiful illusion, or became something the world would never forget. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't feel it, but because I felt too much. I slipped out of the blanket and walked to the balcony, letting the morning air cool my thoughts. The city below was waking up, unaware that my entire world had narrowed to one decision. Ethan joined me without speaking, standing close but not touching, giving me space even when he clearly wanted to hold me. That more than anything made my chest ache. "When you first asked me to do this," I said slowly, "I thought it would be temporary. Safe. Pretend." He nodded. "So did I." "I never planned to fall in love with you," I admitted. He exhaled, almost a laugh, almost a confession. "Neither did I." I turned to face him. "But if we say yes to this, it won't just be us anymore. It will be opinions and expectations and strangers thinking they know us." "I know," he said. "I live in that world. I would never drag you into it without a choice." I studied his face. No pressure. No persuasion. Just honesty. "What if we do it differently?" I asked. His brow furrowed slightly. "How?" "We don't give them forever," I said. "Not yet. We give them truth. We say we're together because we want to be. And we protect the rest for ourselves." A slow smile spread across his face, warm and real. "You're extraordinary, you know that?" "I'm just careful," I said. Then softer, "with my heart." He reached for my hands this time, and I didn't hesitate. "Then let me be careful with it too." Later that day, we sat side by side for the interview. His hand rested on my knee, grounding and steady. When the question came, the one everyone was waiting for, the room held its breath. "So," the interviewer asked, smiling knowingly, "is this the beginning of something permanent?" Ethan looked at me, not the cameras. I felt the weight of the moment, then smiled. "It's the beginning of something real," I said. His fingers tightened gently against mine. The headline that followed was kinder than I expected. Curious instead of demanding. Hopeful instead of certain. That night, when the doors closed and the world faded again, Ethan pulled me into his arms and whispered, "Thank you for choosing us." I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heart. "I didn't choose the story," I said. "I chose you." He kissed my hair, lingering.
"Then we will write the rest together."
As we stood there, wrapped in quiet and promise, his phone buzzed one last time on the table behind us. Neither of us reached for it. Because whatever waited on the screen could change the narrative. But it could not change the way he held me. And somehow I knew. The real cliffhanger wasn't whether the world would accept our love. It was whether we were brave enough to let it grow. The next morning, sunlight spilled through Ethan's penthouse windows, painting the room in gold. For once, the city outside didn't feel like a stage. It felt like ours. I stirred in the warmth of the bed, half awake, half nervous. The phone that had buzzed relentlessly yesterday lay forgotten on the nightstand. I realized I didn't care. Ethan's arms tightened around me as I shifted.
"Morning," he murmured, voice low and sleepy. "Morning," I replied, savoring the simplicity of the moment.
No cameras. No headlines. No expectations. Just him. He tilted my chin up and kissed me gently, the kind of kiss that said this is real, not this is convenient.
"You know," he said afterward, "I've been thinking."
I raised an eyebrow, pretending to be wary, though my heart was full. Dangerous territory. Ethan Vale.
"Should I be afraid?" "Maybe," he said with a sly grin. "But only of missing out."
I laughed, the sound light and free, and he laughed too. It felt like the first time we were really ourselves together.
"We can do this," I said, squeezing his hand.
"Whatever comes next, we face it together. Real or fake, it doesn't matter." He studied me, eyes soft, the kind of gaze that could stop time. "Together," he agreed. That day, we didn't rush to announce anything. We didn't hide either. We simply lived, walking the city streets hand in hand, stealing kisses in quiet corners, and laughing at nothing and everything. Even the world outside, which seemed so vast and full of judgment, couldn't touch what we had built. Later, over dinner at a small cozy bistro far from flashing cameras, Ethan reached across the table, holding my hand. "You've changed me," he said softly. I smiled, heart swelling.
"You make me braver than I've ever been."
He leaned closer, whispering, "Then let's be brave together. No scripts. No contracts. Just us." I nodded, feeling a thrill that had nothing to do with luxury or headlines. Just us. And in that moment, as the city lights shimmered outside the window and the night stretched ahead like endless possibility, I realized, the fake relationship had been the beginning, but love, real, undeniable, unstoppable love, was ours. No cameras. No scripts. No expectations. Just the two of us, writing a story only we could tell. Hand in hand, heart to heart, we stepped forward into our forever.